right, let me just share my screen. All right. So, can everyone see that?
Yeah, that's good.
Okay, so welcome. This is the kickoff session for the smart track of the HL7 Australia Fire Connectathon that we're having next week, Wednesday next week. We're coming to Sydney at the Swiss Hotel. And the purpose of this session is just to get a bit ahead of the actual event and give you an idea of what you can do to prepare, what to expect at the actual event, where you can get all the information you need and that sort of thing. And also just an opportunity to ask any questions and all that sort of stuff. So before we get into it, I'd just like to acknowledge, pay respects to the past, present, and future traditional custodians and elders of Australia, and the continuation of cultural, spiritual, and educational practices of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples. My name's John. I'm from the eHealth Research Centre. I'll be guiding you through your participation of the track, but also ably assisted by my colleagues Leonie and Clinton, who are also on the call today. So this is what we're going to talk about today. We're just going to talk about what the smart track is, what we're actually trying to achieve with the smart track, and how we structure it and how we structure participation in the track. And we're also going to talk about what's involved in participating in the track and what sort of resources are available for you to use during the Connectathon to help you. So the whole point of the Smart App track is to, like any other track, test interoperability between different systems that can be independently developed by different organizations, vendors, etc. And the great thing about this is that it helps us to validate the standards that we're building as a community, validate that they actually work and are implementable, and also help people who are implementing them to validate that their systems actually comply with the standard. So in the context of our track, those standards that we're talking about are the Smart App Launch Standard, which is a standard for authorizing access of third-party apps into EHR systems, and the Structured Data Capture, or SDC standard, which is a standard for representing data capture and implementing data capture applications. And the reason that we do these together is because you often have these two standards used at the same time. For example, when you want to launch a smart app from an EHR system and you want to use SDC to render some sort of form to the user and have that data captured back into Fire data that you can write back into that system potentially. And of course, we are indirectly testing AU Core often in this track because we are developing applications in the Australian context, and AU Core is a very important standard in that. So while we're talking to EHRs through Smart App Launch, we're rendering SDC forms, but we're also passing around data that is Australian flavored, and that's where we use AU Core. So the way a track works is that we define roles and patterns of interaction, and then we try and recruit participants into the track that can fill one or more of those roles. And the idea is that we have different participants in the track that are uh, playing a diverse set of roles, and we can actually demonstrate that those participants can interact with each other in a standards compliant way. So the two main roles that we have in this track are the app host and the app. Um, so the app host is like an EHR or a CIS that can launch a smart app from it and give that app access to the data that is held in that system within a limited scope, based on what that app needs and what the user is willing to grant it. Um, so um, so that sort of gives us two roles. One is the launching system, and one is the app itself. So we can have people bringing along, um, maybe a general practice system like best practice might be a smart app host. And then a smart app might be something like a CVD risk calculator app, which can be launched from best practice, given access to talk to it through its FHIR API for the purpose of pre-populating inputs into the calculator. And then when you finish the calculation, you can write a risk observation back into the FHIR API as an example. But we have lots of different hosts and apps. In fact, I think the last Connectathon we had the most participants we've ever had. So I'm hoping that we can hit that or better it again. And then the third and fourth item on this list are specializations of the first two. So they're a form renderer app and a form renderer app host. And these are basically still smart apps, but as I said before, we're also implementing SDC to so that we can have form apps. And an example of this is, for example, our Aboriginal Torres Strait Islander health check app. We can launch that from a system. We can pre-populate in a bunch of stuff. We can render that using a standard renderer as a form for the user to interact with. Some of it's pre-filled, some of it needs to be added in. And then we can create a response to that questionnaire, and we can potentially extract information out of it to merge back into the patient's record. So those are the main roles that we are sort of targeting with this track. And you can go to the Connectathon page, which I'll show you in a sec, and for more information on these roles. Which is a great segue to maybe go over to the Connectathon page. Let me just see if I can get to it. Probably not actually, because I've only shared the app. So if I do this, okay, so this page here is your best friend if you're coming along to the Connectathon. So if you go to confluence.hl7.org, you should be able to find this page under HL7 Australia Connectathons. And we have a main page here, which shows you how to get there and the sort of main agenda of the meeting, which is still kind of in currently a work in progress. but underneath that, there'll also be a page for each of the tracks. So our track has a nicely formed page here, which has a whole bunch of information. Um, some information on the roles that I was just talking about, um, a bit about how the day is going to go, um, information about tools and resources that you can make use of on the day. Um, these testing scenarios go into a bit more information about how those roles interact with each other that I was talking about before. And the all-important participant capability matrix, which is a list of um, all the applications that are participating in the track. And so we've got a mixture of servers or app hosts and clients or apps. So we're still pretty early on in this matrix, but we've got a whole bunch on here already. Um, some ones from Cyro, Formlab. Heath, I took the liberty of adding your app. I just presumed there, and also Chap from Phil at the agency. So we're going to be filling that out rapidly over the next week. So if you are coming along and you do have something to bring along, please put the details into this table. And this is where other participants can find out about your app and they can get your contact details and they can get some information about how they can connect to that app. Okay. So there's a bunch of tools on that page. Um, on the first day of the Connectathon, we'll be doing a presentation introducing you to Smart App Launch. What is it? How does it work? Um, but also taking you through all the different tools and infrastructure that you can use to get up and running. And we're going to have people that are all different levels. Some people who are just coming in cold, they're just wanting to learn about what it is, and other people who are highly experienced at delivering um, applications in this space. So we'll have a full spectrum. And so a lot of the value also comes from just interacting with all the other people who are at the Connectathon. So I encourage you to do that. Um, Two of the most important tools are the Smart App Starter Kit, which is a little template code repository which can have you up and running with a smart app in 5 minutes. Um, the other one is our Postman collection, which is something that you can load into an application called Postman, and it has a whole bunch of example requests that show you exactly how the whole smart app launch process works step by step. So I encourage you to check that out if you are in learning mode. And that's all the content I have for today. If you have any questions ahead of the Connectathon, please just send me an email and I will try my best to answer them. So I'll stop sharing there. And is there any questions? Otherwise, we might just have a quick friendly interrogation of those here about where you're up to and what you're bringing along and all the rest of it. No questions? Okay. Well, Phil, would you mind sort of, oh, there you go, Heath.
Yeah, sorry for the like. Um, just questioning Liam maybe about the Inferno. Is that worth? bringing along, or maybe you already suggested that you have?
I have it in the participants list,
Yeah,
so
okay. I
definitely it'll
missed
be
that.
available. We've done some enhancements to support configuring references in post requests, so you can configure the references either to things on your server or to support, create testing. So that'll be available now. So hopefully that'll help with that too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
not
so
directly related to Smart App launch, I guess, but certainly the SDC side of it. I think it would be pretty cool to get that out there, the fact that that exists.
Yeah, it's definitely there. We've made a whole bunch of improvements. Hopefully it's pretty close to what we consider done at this stage. So any feedback during the Connectathon would be great.
okay. And for the benefit of others, that is basically an online test suite that you can point your software at that will tell you whether it will work with smart health checks, right?
Yeah, it tests the Fire API for or the Smart Health Check host, which is the same as your Smart App or either rendering app host. Um, yeah, so it'll test the capability statement requirement, Fire API requirements of that.
And that's, again, for context, that's the 715 Smart Health Checks
Yes,
IG,
next, yeah,
basically. Yeah.
yep.
And it might be worth, I don't know if you plan, but to share some of the stuff around patch that you've been playing with as well. Just there might be people having
We have
some
been.
interest.
I won't be at the event, unfortunately, this time around, but yeah, keen to, I don't know, get feedback on that because it is a relatively new thing.
Right. Yeah, we haven't come up with anything in this in along the lines of breakout sessions related to smart app launch as yet. So I think there are still a few slots available if anybody has any ideas. So just have a think about that. Um, Phil, how are you going? And
Yeah, good. We're updating the form server, the uh, renderer, based on the latest code from you guys. Brendan said he found a bug in the latest release of the renderer, which he's investigating at the moment, but it still seems like he's not able to retrieve the practitioner name for some reason. He's investigating at the moment, so he might feedback to you, Liam, if he can't.
Yep, please
The
do get him to raise a ticket if he, yep.
Okay, we've got to get the read-only fields. We've added a sort of a light grey shading to the back of the boxes now, and we've added additional wording to the right back. So we'll be publishing that one soon this week. So it'll be ready for the Connectathon, so you can test a bit more on the 715. Hopefully that'll address those two issues. We've updated the launch scopes to include all the ones that you provided in that link for me. Yeah, so we're getting there. But yes, he's just quickly investigating that practitioner one to see what it is, whether it's our end or your end. But it worked with the previous version, so we're thinking it might be the renderer end. So yeah, I'll get him to raise a bug as soon as he's had a quick look this afternoon. So it's sometime this afternoon.
okay, great. Alan, I can see you lurking in the background. Did you
Yeah,
want
I'm
to?
here. Fine. Yeah, so we're bringing the same set of two applications to the table, CVD calculator hosted in the actual environment and MIMS app with some additional changes. We made some changes under the hood that will result in much faster lookups and faster results when we run these interaction tests. And that will be us.
Okay, great. Thanks very much for that. So that's pretty much it. Unless there's anything anyone else wanted to raise or any questions about the event next week, we could pretty much just leave it there and hope everybody has safe travels to Sydney. And there will be there is also an event on the Tuesday, the working group meetings. That is sort of a separate event that that a few of us will be there as well. And then the Wednesday and Thursday for the Connectathon. So I'm looking forward to seeing you all there. All right, then we might leave it there. Thanks everybody for coming.
Thanks, John. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Okay, see ya.
All right, see you later.
Bye.
Thank you.